What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're going to go over another one of my drafts that I did. I did this one this morning. I think it turned out really good. We'll talk about everything I was thinking about during the draft, maybe go over what other teams were doing I did not understand. Before we do that, a few quick announcements. Number one, the Discord is free for everyone now. It was gated last season. Everyone can join it right now. You can go to my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. I'll probably put something on the homepage if I haven't done that yet when you're watching this. Just go to the draft content tab. It is the first thing at the top. It says join the Discord. Click that and join the Discord. It's very easy to do. There will still be gated channels for everyone who gets all in. And if you have all in, you can go to the website and just connect those two again with the exact same process. Very simple. But yeah, it's free. So if anyone wants to join, you can do that. Also, while we're on the website, what's also free to view and probably won't be up if you're viewing this at like 8 or 9 a.m., but will be up the day you're viewing is the league winners from last season. So that's free to view. You can open that page up. It's going to go over basically just the players who were on the highest percent of like playoff teams and championship teams, but also broken down onto like if that team drafted and kept that player, if that team traded away or dropped that player, or if that team acquired that player, whether through adding or trading. So we'll be analyzing that in like other videos. I'm not going to analyze that now, but a really cool thing to look at. Again, won't be up at like 8 or 9 a.m., but will be at some point the day you're viewing it, which should be Wednesday. Other updates, if you have access to the site, this one's premium for everyone for all in. The draft strategy thing is run, so because we have the league winners, it means all draft strategies things were run for last season. And I now have charts that show you the effectiveness of different draft strategies year by year from, I think, 2015 until last season. So you can really see like how has, RB0 changed? How has drafting quarterback early changed throughout the years? Those charts are up. And then what's also up is the prospect model. So for the rookies this year, running backs and wide receivers, we've also got year 2 and year 3 models as well, all up on the site. Dynasty rankings updated, redraft rankings updated, Underdog rankings updated, FFPC rankings updated. So everything is good to go on the site right now, and will all continue to be updated. So even as we get closer to the draft, I'm going to be feeding in, updated mock drafts. That's going to update the model. Once the draft happens, the model will be updated again. So everything going to be keeping you updated. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out the site. But I would say the big things are Discord. Get in there. It's free. There's no reason not to be in there. So how about the draft? As you can see, I am the first team on the left, and oh my goodness. So this was the $3 Underdog draft. It's a new one they created very, very recently. Standard tournament style. So when you've got, weeks 1 through 13 or 14, I can't remember. 1 through 13 or 14 is like your regular season. Get first or second place in that. You're going to keep advancing throughout. And then prize pools will like determine based on how far you go in that. But you guys got to be joining this one. Like, I really don't understand. This is the first draft I did as part of this tournament, and maybe I just got lucky. But as you can see with just like a quick glance, we've got a team that started off Tyreek Hill, totally fine in the first round. Josh Allen round 2, that's still fine. But then Lamar Jackson in round 3, Justin Fields in round 4, Watson in round 8. Like, you don't need 4 quarterbacks that early. That's not a very good strategy. You want to do one even worse? How about this team right here? Third drafted team has 1 quarterback. Hendon Hooker. That's it. So that team's going to lose. Team, 5. 1 quarterback. Kyle Trask. We've got team, Team 11, I think, drafted 1 billion quarterbacks. Yeah, they drafted Mahomes in round 1, Herbert round 3, Tua round 5, Bryce Young round 9, Love round 14, Ritter round 19. So as you can see, the ADPs are totally fine. Like, I don't think looking at this, you can really be like, ooh, this player went way too early or way too late. It's just that people have no idea how to draft right now. And so if you haven't signed up yet, sign up for Underdog, promo code FFA. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. But if you've already done that deposit, which many of you have, go over there and check it out. Again, it's only a $3 draft. That's nothing, and it's so plus EV right now. I had no idea what these teams were doing. So what was my strategy in this one? Wanted to start off Jefferson, had the 1 pick. I was like, whatever, we'll take Jefferson. No real strategy there. came back to me, and I basically had the option of saying I either want to start Jefferson and then pick two of like Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Nick Chubb, Jacobs, Etienne. I don't think, not a lot separating them, just like pick two of your favorites. I didn't really want to do that though. I kind of wanted to try sort of like an RB0 build in this one, just draft a ton of wide receivers early. That's a very common strategy right now because we know the early wide receivers are going to be very involved in their offenses. Whereas, let's be honest, like the Jets are not going to be going out and drafting Bijan Robinson. Like that's just not going to happen. We know Breece Hall's role is secure. We know Chubb, Jacobs, like we just know these guys' role is pretty secure. But there's definitely potential that running backs, get kind of blown up in their backfield through the draft. And so at wide receiver, that's not really a risk. Like Jefferson, Olave, Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, like it's incredibly unlikely that anything's going to happen this offseason to, make them not worthy of where they're going. So that's why people like to lean wide receiver early. So I started with Jefferson. I grab Olave in round 2, absolute stud, has Derek Carr quarterback now. I don't think it's some like magnificent upgrade, right? This isn't going from like Zach Wilson to Patrick Mahomes. Like it's still not a huge upgrade, but it's an upgrade, and it's an accurate quarterback. It is a quarterback that we can trust, and just him as a player is incredible. So it makes all the sense in the world. He goes early. He's just locked into being very, very good. He's already like going to be a superstar. Metcalf, I don't think I need to tell you on that one. We know Geno's the quarterback now, so that one makes sense there. Also, weekly upside with him. And then McLaurin, another one, probably shouldn't have to tell you on. So first 4 rounds, grab those wide receivers. Got to round 5. I definitely considered Drake London here. I was like, maybe I can just go, grab some youth. If they go for a new quarterback, maybe he gets an upgrade there, but I don't know. I was thinking about the situation. I was like, if I was going to take a wide receiver at 5 here, I wanted it to be someone who could just truly break out. Like someone I was so in love with that, could end up being worth like a first round pick, like be a first, second round pick next season. And not saying Drake London can't be that. I was just saying like the offensive environment, I'm not expecting like, overhaul there where they're all of a sudden pass heavy. They're still going to run the ball a ton. And so it's a little bit capped what he can do. And I was like, if this is my 5th wide receiver, it better be a pick I'm in love with. And because I wasn't in love at this spot with any of like Kirk, DJ Moore, Drake London, Godwin, Keenan Allen, I thought they were all fine. Wasn't in love with any of them. I was like, let's just go with my top running back. It was DeAndre Swift. I wouldn't even say I was in love with Swift. I was hoping that Najee Harris, he goes in the mid-4th round. I was hoping he would fall, because I've heard rumblings that like the Lions could end up taking a running back or something like that in the draft. Now, if they don't and they stick with Swift and Jamal Williams, then we know the Lions are going to be a phenomenal offense, very high scoring. Even if they continue the split, Swift can be very good, and especially as a 5th round pick. I like that upside. And especially Swift is a great player in best ball because we know that he's going to have a low floor, but when he hits, he can have an 80-yard touchdown at any time. He hits big, and that's what we like. So those are the first 5 picks. After that, obviously, as we know, we talk about every single season, the cliff after round 5, we know that the production is going to fall off. We have to be willing to assume some risk. And really what we draft, actually, I'll keep it kind of looking like this. What we draft really will depend more on what we have done thus far. So I have 4 wide receivers. I have 1 running back. I go with Gabe Davis. I'm going to mention this probably a few times with a lot of my picks here. Matthew Berry, I retweeted it. You can check on my Twitter. You can go to Matthew Berry's Twitter. Wrote a really good article about when he went to the combine and he talked to a lot of people from around the league, just asking them, questions about players from last year, players from this year, situations, how things are going to change. And what he mentioned was Gabe Davis. And he didn't come away with that being like, oh, Gabe Davis is like going off this season. He came away with that basically being like, Gabe Davis might have been a little bit more injured than we thought early in the season. I remember early in the year, he has that ankle injury. It wasn't reported that it was a high ankle sprain, but they kind of said it was a high ankle sprain, which are very difficult to play through. And he missed, like 1, maybe 2 games from it. Usually people miss like a month plus. Like remember, that's the same injury that Mike Williams had, and he missed a significant chunk of time. And so maybe we can attribute some of that to that. I would say Gabe Davis's ceiling is just going to depend on who they bring in, because I think they're going to bring another wide receiver. If they bring someone in, pretty high in the draft or in free agency, like It's not going to be great. Now, for agency, there's actually not that many good wide receivers in free agency. We'll talk about one later. But yeah, I think if they draft someone high, this is a bad pick. But I was like, hey, this is the upside. This is the player that is my fifth wide receiver. I do not need Gabe Davis to have a stable floor. I need the 3 or 4 games where he drops 30. I need that ceiling to help me, especially if that ceiling happens late in the season. And so I just thought he was just a good player to capture some upside. My other options that I was looking at was Jameson Williams. He goes a half round before. I really wanted Aaron Jones. He goes a little bit before. I was thinking about Dameon Pierce. He was 2 picks before. I was thinking about Mike Evans. He goes 1 pick before. So it was a little bit unfortunate there. But I didn't really have any other wide receiver options. I mean, I could have gone with Addison, but I don't think I've dove into the rookies enough yet to be confident in his exact value. I think I have him projected right now roughly where he's going, but landing spot will depend on that. So I didn't feel confident taking that pick. Courtland Sutton, there's trade rumors about. I wasn't confident in that. George Pickens, I didn't really know the upside there. Again, I wanted upside with this pick. Deontay Johnson, same thing. I didn't see either of them as being high ceiling players. So I went with Gabe. I thought that made sense. And then after that, I go with Pacheco. I looked at the running backs and I was like, well, I could wait. But I figured when it got back to me in the 8th round, the pickings would be a lot less. I thought there'd be somewhat of a run. This is kind of the end of that range where it's everyone has question marks, so people are really just hammering any sort of upside. And Pacheco, lead back on the Kansas City offense. That's going to come with potential touchdowns. And let's be honest, he looked very, very good in his rookie season. He'll be involved. Will it be as involved as in the playoffs? Who's to say, really? But in the 7th round, I think that's worth the risk. So to this point, we've got 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs. I started looking at quarterback. We've already seen a lot come off the board, so this will be my 8th round pick, the last pick in the 8th round. And we've already seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks come off the board in the first 3 rounds. Another 1, 2, 3 come off the board, so we've got 9 off the board in the first 5 rounds. After that, we see Dak and Deshaun Watson go. I was considering Watson if he was there at my pick. He was not. So we're in the late 8th round, and I was like, let's complete the stack. This was a round where I had projected Kirk Cousins, where Kirk Cousins' ADP was. It was actually a little bit later than his ADP, and I was like, I have Jefferson. I'm assuming taking Jefferson at 1 that he has a monster season. If that happens, there's going to be plenty of games where Kirk Cousins has 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what we want. I figured it was just a very safe pick. So with him there. And then Charbonnet, I go with the 901. Looking back, I could have definitely taken Khalil Herbert. There's also rumblings that he is not going to sign with the Bears this season, or Montgomery. I don't know if I said his name. Montgomery, there's rumblings that he might not sign with the Bears. He could go. Honestly, it's him and Kareem Hunt are kind of rumored to potentially go to Denver because maybe Javonte Williams won't be fully healthy this season. We still don't know that situation. But basically, it was saying they're confident in Khalil Herbert enough to be like, we don't need to sign Dave Montgomery. We're good having Herbert and Ebner as a backup and really leaning on Herbert. They really like him. He produced very well last season. And if you're getting that in the 9th round, that's awesome, right? So I think Herbert was probably a better pick at that spot for me. I thought there was a chance that he was there at the next round, and I would have gone Charbonnet, then Herbert. But yeah, I think looking back, I probably would have preferred to take Herbert there just for that upside. But I don't. I go Charbonnet, and I think that was a good pick. I think he's kind of the consensus 3 right now. It's going to depend on where everyone goes in the draft. It's going to depend on landing spot, but I think most people think that he's the most, I would guess the most standard, prototypical lead back build. There's a lot of running backs that are maybe smaller, maybe more change of pace backs. We obviously know you're going to start off with Bijan Robinson. He'll go off the board in round 1 or 2 for fantasy, probably mid round 1 for actual NFL. And then you've got Gibbs behind him, but Gibbs goes in the 6th round. And then I think there is that kind of drop and we get into everyone else. I would say 3 through 5 people debate, but I think Charbonnet right now, the community's kind of landed on as at number 3. And I just figure, if he lands in a really good spot, he's not going to be available in the 9th round. So I should take him now. I considered Myers, though. I considered Myers with that pick because if Myers goes somewhere in free agency, because it seems like he's not going to land in New England, I'm hoping as a Patriots fan that, well, I'd like him to sign, but it doesn't seem like he's going to, that we draft Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then we trade for Hopkins. I've seen that out there. I will be happy if we don't trade for Hopkins and we just sign, or I guess draft Jackson Smith and Jigba, but like, we need something. I mean, we can't lose Myers and then not do anything. That would be absolutely embarrassing. So we'll see what happens. But if Myers goes somewhere, it could be like the Christian Kirk effect, where it's like he might go to a team that really wants him, really wants to use him, and he might be pretty undervalued if he's going to go to a good situation. We don't know the situation right now. So I think there's upside baked into him. But I thought grabbing my third running back at this spot was better than grabbing my sixth wide receiver. So again, go Charbonnet. We make it to round 10, and I basically was like, okay, late round 10. Listen, if Montgomery's not going to be on the Bears, and if he's going to go to Denver, it probably means that, and again, this is all speculation, but if he goes somewhere, it's to a team that wants him. And if it is Denver, he's not going to go in the late 10th round, because if Javonte Williams isn't going to be healthy, there's a chance he's not healthy all season. But if he's going to miss a good chunk, then Montgomery's going to be really, really valuable for a good chunk of the year as my fourth running back. I thought that made sense. I wanted Jared Goff here, but I ended up going with Geno because, I drafted Metcalf in the third round. If we're thinking, early third round, first pick in the third round, if he's going to pay that off, well, I'm thinking Geno's getting there in a few weeks as well. He already signed his contract. I don't think they're against drafting a quarterback, but they're going to stick with Geno still this season if they draft someone. I've heard they could draft Richardson, but someone, they could just draft someone and really like develop them, not have to use them right away. We only care about this season for this draft. And so I think that made sense. Kind of just going with Geno. And if you look at the rest, if I had done it back and known what I finished with, I would have gone with Derek Carr because after that, in the 14th round, I draft Shaheed. In the 15th round, I draft Juwan Johnson. I already had Olave. It would have been beautiful to have Derek Carr. They're a really nice stack. I didn't know I was going to end up with those players. Again, looking back, should have gone with Derek Carr. But hey, you win some, you lose some. So we take that pick. Round 12, we get Alan Lazard in that article from Matthew Berry. He talked about how Lazard in a very gross free agency class, like it's kind of like Lazard and Myers are like, the two pieces you want. There are some teams that are very interested in Lazard. One is the Ravens, which we would not like. We wouldn't like that landing spot for fantasy. But one is Kansas City. And if Alan Lazard lands on Kansas City, I can guarantee you he'll not be a late 12th round pick for that upside. I take him there. We get to the 13th, and I'm like, okay, I don't have any tight ends at this point. I felt good about my quarterbacks. I think in this format, before the draft, I think once we get to like Best Ball Mania time in like May, those tournaments turn into 18 teams. This is 20 teams. I think it's totally fine to draft 3 quarterbacks in this format. Again, you don't want to do what some of the teams I made fun of earlier and draft like 7 of them. I just noticed this team that drafted in rounds 11 through 14, Carr, Stafford, Anthony Richardson, and Sam Howell. Like it's not, you don't want to be doing that. It is just shocking how many quarterbacks were coming off the board in this draft. So I don't think 2 is probably optimal for you to do, but I thought at this point, I was like, I'm feeling good about wide receiver, right? I started off with 4 wide receivers. I got ones I like after that. I'm feeling solid about running backs. I'm going to need 3 tight ends. I should start doing that. We go with Chig Okonkwo. I've heard they could draft a tight end. That wouldn't be fantastic. We do know, though, that rookie tight ends take a little bit to develop. Of course, I draft one in the 19th round in Darnell Washington. We'll go over. But the point being, I think they really like him in Tennessee. He's very athletic. He's a good receiving tight end. If they drafted another tight end, I think it would be more of like his backup, not going to be featuring someone else. And I don't know, especially if they trade Derrick Henry, they're going to have to throw the ball more. I thought 13th round made sense for him there. I go with Shaheed. There's not a lot behind this. It was basically just, I don't think Derek Carr's fully priced in. I do think that they could still draft a wide receiver. They're going to be losing Michael Thomas. He's not cut yet, but he's going to be cut. They owe him too much money. So Michael Thomas will be gone. Shaheed looked fantastic last season. I got to think he's still going to be on the field plenty, and he's a high upside player. He's definitely got to roll downfield, end arounds. He's going to try and get the ball into his hands to make big plays. We want big plays on Underdog. After that, Juwan Johnson, again, should have gone with that Saints stack. But I think this offense is just going to be better this season. And Juwan looked fantastic. Like when he was healthy, he was catching touchdowns. He was being used over the middle of the field. Like he looked really, really good. I thought 15th round made sense for him. And then the rest, upside. Most of these picks are not going to be very good. But I go with Tim Patrick in round 16. Traditionally, you want to wait a season. So Patrick tears his ACL last summer, even before the season started. I believe it was before the year started. And then usually that next season, kind of think about, honestly, when Cortland Sutton was injured, when he was coming back, wasn't as good his first season back. Think about like Michael Gallup last season. Like it takes people usually a full year to get better. And then after that next season, that's when we want to target him. But I thought late 16th round, if Sutton's going to be traded away and they use Tim Patrick as their clear X receiver, it makes no sense for him to be in the late 16th round. So I thought, yes, risk, but he also tore the ACL a while ago. He's had like maximum time to recover. And so if he can be like decent, definitely valuable in the 16th round. I go with Jerome Ford in that article from Matthew Berry. Use information when you get it right now. They talked about how, well, Kareem Hunt might be gone. And so they're going to have, obviously, Nick Chubb starting. I think a lot of people think Dearness Johnson is the backup. They have said, no, it's Jerome Ford. Like, they really like Jerome Ford. He was a decent prospect last season. Obviously not really given any opportunity because they have Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But if Jerome Ford is going to be the backup to Nick Chubb, that comes with a ton of upside. 17th round, beautiful. And then Chase Brown, late 18th round. Super athletic rookie. I don't know where he's going to go. The mock drafts I've seen indicate that the combine was very good for him. He's moving up in the mock drafts. If I put in the new projected ADPs, I think he's going to go up in the model as well for the rookie model. But yeah, just a super athlete, very like a change of pace back, home run hitter. And so could he be someone who isn't used a ton, but occasionally gets maybe like 10 carries? He can occasionally get to 80 and a touchdown from there, like not consistently, he's not averaging 8 yards per carry. But players like that, I want in the late 18th round, right? This is usually the last pick on Underdog. I just think he's going to go earlier than people think. And so that made sense there. And then Darnell Washington, I retweeted the picture of him, working out the combine. This dude's a freak. He's gonna be someone people just want on the field, and that's something I want for the rookies. Is he like the best receiving threat in this class? I don't think people regard him as that, but he's gonna be out there blocking. I think he looks good, and he definitely can be a receiving threat. Just saying he's not the best, like he's still like top 3 in this class, I think. And so I know rookies typically don't do that much, but in the 19th round, as my third tight end, if he can have 404 touchdowns, like just 400 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, randomly use him for like 4 or 5 weeks, that is totally fine at this point. You just got to get 3 that you believe in. I believe in his talent. Long term, it's going to hit more. Redraft leagues, you don't need to be going towards him in formats like this. It makes sense. And then David Bell, last round, 12th pick in the 20th round. Basically, if the article is right, Matthew Berry article, we talked about they're going to throw the ball more. That's the expectation. Kind of makes sense, right? You go from Jacoby Brissett, you go for a much more balanced offense, running the ball a lot, using the running backs to win games. You transition into Deshaun Watson. They want to air it out, but the transition still needs to happen. It's his first games back in a very long time. He doesn't look good. Now this season, they're going to ramp up the passing game. They're going to be throwing it a lot more. If they're using more like 5 wide sets, they're using more wide receivers on the field. They really liked David Bell last season. He was dreadful. Like he was awful last year. But if he develops in the offseason, they throw more, and he's on the field a ton. Well, as a last pick in a 20-round draft, that's a good pick. So let me know what you guys think of my team, what you think of these other teams. Please do these drafts. Like, again, it's the $3 one. I don't remember what it's called. You can see it on the site. It's just a $3. You can do slow drafts too if you don't want to sit down and do a full draft. You can do like the slow 8-hour drafts. This is plus EV. I mean, if we're going to be drafting against teams like this, so many, like, there are good teams in here, but there are also like 4 or 5 teams that simply can't win. And if you're going up against that, your playoff rate is going to be insane. Please enter as many of these as you can. Again, if you don't have an account yet, use promo code FFA. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. And remember about the Discord. Get in there for free, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. You'll see it. Just go to the either the homepage if I add that or under draft content. And then for everyone who has premium, bunch of premium content on the site now. So that'll do it for this one. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, how about hitting the like button? How about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.